Hi folks, and welcome back to the allotment. A very, very exciting day today, but we do have some slightly bad news to start off with. And that is, I'm still waiting for the polytunnel tape to appear, and the fox has been back. Maybe a badger. A lot of people in the comments thought it was badger damage. Something's been back and made it slightly worse, despite me leaving the doors open the last 2 nights, which is getting a bit annoying. I'm a bit worried that they're maybe just doing it for fun. You know, like cats like to scratch on stuff. There's no reason, literally with both doors open, for them to go for it. So that's not great. Thank you for all the kind and kind of reassuring comments about this. You can see that hole underneath my hand wasn't there before. So it's just been pulled back a little bit more. What I need to do, I'll be doing this as soon as the tape arrives tomorrow. I've got some rubbing alcohol on the way as well, because it's really important that you give this a good clean, and you have to cut these serrated edges apparently. So I'm a bit bloody nervous because I'm gonna have to make this hole even bigger. And a few people have suggested patching it, so using another bit of plastic to kind of bridge that gap. But really, I think it's actually better to just use the tape. And the idea is you use the tape on the inside and the outside, and they stick together and form a really kind of long-term seal. I have thought about, like I say, doing a quick kind of temporary fix with this little small roll that I have, but apparently once it's on, it's very, very, very difficult to get off, Jessie was telling me. So I'm just gonna wait for the right stuff, tape it up, leave the doors open for a bit longer, and hope for the best. I will probably as well, once it's taped up, just take these out, because if there is still some chicken manure in here that they're smelling, that might be what's brought them in. I am very, very worried though now about using horse manure in here. I know from experience that putting manure on the beds does sometimes attract the little diggers. Although, to be honest, they normally tend to be more interested in the wood chip that I've laid down. And yeah, now I think about it, I did manure a lot of beds this year, and most of them were left kind of unmolested. So let me show you the good thing. The good thing that I could just see it, it's got me excited. We were here at about 9 o'clock last night, taking a delivery of these, which are lightly used. They're not in perfect nick, but they are scaffolding boards, and they are bloody huge. Look at the chunkiness. Okay, I think you'd say, you know, maybe more than slightly used, but they were about 12 quid a pop, which is pretty bloody good if you ask me. If you want them brand new, they're about 20 quid, was the cheapest I could find online. And these are from like a reclamation yard in Southampton. So wasn't too far, about 20 quid delivery as well. Really, really happy. One thing is slightly odd is they're not a uniform size. So the first thing I need to do, a bit of planning, a bit of moving them around, a bit of seeing where they're gonna go. It's really annoying because as I was on the way to the allotment today, I was like, yes, this morning I woke up, I was like a kid at Christmas, so excited to get out. I saw the fox damage and I was like, oh, bloody hell, or whatever damage. And I started the video a little bit low. I didn't mean to, this was meant to be a good, exciting one. So what I'm gonna do, get loads of those in place on the new plot ready. I'm just looking at them now, wondering if I've miscalculated and bought too many. But that's a good problem to have, isn't it? I'm gonna get them into place on the new plot and we'll see. We'll see. I'll sort of get them around, see if they're the right size, see if they fit. Oh, exciting. So there we have it. I've just spent a little bit of time trying to remember exactly what my plans were, but I've got it. So these are 13-foot boards, and what I'm going to do is cut one of the 13-foot boards in half. So half will go there, half will go there, and then I'm going to nail plate these in together. So we'll have one massive bed here, and this I'm probably going to use for the spuds or something like this. But the soil here is really, really depleted, really, really low. So building it up is definitely the right thing to do, I think. And these boards are nice and chunky. So I'm going to be treating them as well as lining them, just because, you know, 12 quid a pop, that's quite a lot of money still. So, you know, I want to get my money's worth out of these, and it's not my money either, it's the patrons. So a massive, massive thank you to all of my patrons. I would not be doing this without you, guaranteed. There is absolutely no way. It's just, I've spent about 200 quid on timber for this, just this plot. And, you know, even at bargain prices, it adds up pretty quick. Luckily, I've got a lot of the stuff already, the liner and the clear coat from when we were doing the back garden. But you can see this one as well, all laid out. And this is much simpler. You know, you can see where the beds are going to be here. These are the lengths, so once I cut those and there's a space for the path, they'll go all the way to the end. And I've got a load as well for inside the tunnel, so I can have a nice big line along here that will once again allow me to build this up. Thank you again for all the comments basically saying, JB, don't worry, you've got plenty of soil here to grow most things. Your tomatoes are not going to complain too much. So that is brilliant. That is a real kind of weight off my mind. But still building up the soil, I want to be adding organic matter and all of that good stuff. So it's not going to hurt having a little bit of height that allows me to do that. I might just put them along here actually, and then just build up a little bit to that base rail. All of this is full of air now because I've just dug it over. So a bit of water and time, that's all going to go sink back down. So there'll be a lot more space to add stuff onto there. But as well, look at this weird little collection. My mum and dad have just arrived and they've brought me a load of home remedies. So these are tea bags that have been, they've been soaked in peppermint oil. Oh, they smell lovely actually. And lots of comments as well saying peppermint oil is a fantastic deterrent for your mammals. So I'm going to sort of pop those around the tunnel. Apparently it's really good if you just bury them in the soil slightly because they won't get washed out and they won't get dug up by the foxes. I've got that, and I've got a load of, you know, when you dig around in the back of the cupboard and you find out-of-date Vicks Vapor Rub and Old Bass oil, all that kind of menthol stuff that they're meant to hate. So hopefully this will be a nice deterrent for the foxes. But my dad's, where is he? He's disappeared. He's doing something already. I think he's weeding around the edges of the beds. He's brought his trimmer up again, so he must have had a good time yesterday. I wasn't working him too hard. So he's back to help again today, but I'm gonna get going. I'm so excited to get this all ready and get it taking shape. You can see as well, I'm gonna be taking a little bit of a foray into the main path. You have to be very, very careful on allotments about these shared pathways and not encroaching too much. But actually I was looking and I'm fairly sure this is the line of that kind of tenants, and my line, I can definitely come out a bit and still have a good chunk of path, good shared pathway here. It's just that because this is all overgrown, it started to move over and over. So actually, these beds and this tenant's kind of property line, I guess you'd say in America, comes right the way over. And actually, that means that's a little bit far over. I need to push it that way a little bit, but those beds could definitely have come that way and there'd still be a nice big path sort of thing. Folks, that has got to be an absolute record for probably the most work I've done without talking about it on camera in the history of the channel. Oh, that's taken a very long time. I was hoping by the end of today I'd be able to get all of these fully made up and done. I've just got the painting all done. It's coming up to 3 o'clock now. So this has taken me about 6 hours to get everything cut to size, get everything measured out, get everything treated. Where does that time go? I just looked up and I was like, wow. The next step, I want to get all of this lined. So the inside that's going to be in contact with the soil, I want to line that with damp-proof membrane. That's what we did for the raised beds at home. It's what Steve did on his raised beds. And I think it's going to give these so much more lifespan. So I'm going to start on that, but I've probably only got about another 40 minutes up here before I need to go home, which is a real shame. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get them made up today. But fear not, we'll be back tomorrow to see how we got on. Hi folks and welcome back. Part 2 of the raised bed episode. I mentioned to Grown Local just now, we were chatting this morning, I mentioned that I was doing these raised beds and he said, 16 more videos for you, brilliant. Not this time, we're doing it in one. Same as when I did the raised beds in the back garden. Now, we have had a visit overnight. The animals have once again visited, but they've left the polytunnel skin alone, so I am happy. Although, they have made a complete and utter mess. This is despite doing literally everything in the comments that was suggested to keep these out. I've been peeing absolutely everywhere, all around the tunnel. I've got peppermint soaked everything, Olbas oil, Vicks Vapor Rub on all the frame and all that. I left the door open anyway, just in case. And I'm glad I did, because they're clearly after some, what flipping heck. Look at that bumblebee. That is a chunky one. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they were after this kind of pelleted fertilizer. That would make sense. They have knocked this over and then immediately left it. But I don't know what was on here. This was my little tool station where I had all my tools, and they've knocked that over. Had a little play with the gloves, but nothing major. So, I mean, I don't care if they can come in here and make a mess every day, so long as they leave the skin alone. Right, so... Right, anyway, so the plan, it's a gorgeous morning, absolutely fantastic. The weather recently has just been so grim, so dark and windy, and today it's just, it's still a bit, but it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous sunrise. The light is absolutely gorgeous, and I was already raring to go, but the weather, it's beautiful. So, where are we at with the raised beds? Well, we made some pretty good progress. You can see here's a little pile of lined ones, and I don't quite have enough liner, to be honest, and I'm not gonna worry too much. I'm just gonna use what I've got, and I think these boards, this thickness, I honestly think that the liner is probably a little bit of overkill, so I've done a couple up here as well. I'm just gonna use what I've got, and we'll probably have a few, maybe, I don't know, 30% of the beds, something like that, that aren't gonna be lined. But they'll still last a bloomin' long time, I think. You've hopefully noticed I've been aiming for a video every day this week, and I've not quite got there because I thought it would be better to do this in one. But I've not really had the chance to respond to the comments, so I do apologise. I've been reading them all, but there's a lot when you're doing a video every day, and you know, I kind of finish around 4 or 5 when it starts to get dark, and then I've got to edit, and then there's just no time, folks. There's no time if you're doing a video every day. But I am still reading them, so thank you so much. I found about half of the comments on on my bollocks episode, you know, where I first found the damage. About half of the comments went into this, the little hidden YouTube inbox, you know, where everything gets hidden because it thinks you're saying naughty words. I don't know what. It's so overzealous. It just puts so many in there sometimes. But yeah, so apologies if I missed those. But gorgeous. I'm making such good progress. I can't wait until they start to come together. I'm hoping by the end of today's episode, all of these raised beds for this plot will be assembled. Think that cutting it into strips is the way to go, because yesterday off camera when I was doing these super long ones, I had the whole sheet to contend with because when you unfurled it, it pretty much matched the length of those exactly. So I thought, well, I'll do it that way. And it took so much longer because you've got the, you know, as you're trying to cut, you've got the weight of the entire membrane. So just cutting it into strips and then slapping it onto these, so much easier. Now it's time to actually assemble them. how bloody good do these look. I can't believe it. I am so happy. When the wood arrived, I was like, oh yeah, that's nice and chunky. But it wasn't until I kind of put it up and started getting them together. It really looks good, doesn't it? They look so substantial. And there is so much height for me to start building up this soil and correct, hopefully, some of the issues I've had growing on this new plot. I am just like a kid at Christmas. I am so happy. It is quite time consuming. The brackets I've got, I had a little bit of trouble with. Or I had a bit of concern with, but I've overcome it, it's fine. So, just so happy. When I first had a look at the brackets, I was a bit worried about the overlap and how much these nails were actually going to go into the board. So basically I've just done them in at an angle instead of just going straight across, because I think that might have split. So people did recommend these for scaffolding boards, but I feel like they just needed to be maybe that little bit bigger to really get into the wood. But if you do it at an angle, it's totally fine, and that's what I've done on all of these, and they are very sturdy. You can easily move the whole lot as well, but I need to get them into their kind of final position. I knew that they were going to be a little bit bigger than what was here at the moment, but that's totally fine. But I'm going to have these nice kind of wood chip paths in the middle, and when the foxes and badgers come along and dig up the wood chip paths now, it won't just get chucked all over the bed. It will just stay, you know. I'm so happy. I just can't stop smiling. It's so good. I'm so excited. I can't wait for this to all be finally done. I'm going to do this bit next. This I think is going to be a little bit trickier. I've got to do a bit of nail plating, and they're really long, so trying to keep it level might be a bit of a challenge. But this one down here, the rhubarb bed, is going to come out as well. I might be able to reuse that somewhere else. But this was such a... I just can't stop smiling. I can't stop smiling. Right folks, look at the sun. The sun has come out. I just went back home for a spot of lunch. I left around 1 o'clock and had a nice little break. It's 2 o'clock now. As soon as I left, the sun has come out with absolute blue skies, pretty typical. But I've had a bit of a rethink. When I planned out this area, I was basically gonna just have one great big bed and sort of do some big stuff in it, maybe some spuds. I was kind of okay with the idea of walking around in it, and you can see that's what I'm going to do here. It might become the potato bed, I'm not sure. But it was, you know, this was going to be literally one whole bed all the way along, and I was going to take out that in the middle. But it just seemed too much, actually. It looked fine on paper, but actually when I put it down and I was looking at it, it just felt wrong. So I've decided instead just have a little bed there, and then I can basically push all this up a little bit, have a little path just through there to make it a bit nice, and this can all be pushed that way a bit there, and then we've got a bit more space for the little patio and the sweet pea area. This is what I'm going to make Steve's sweet pea bed out of, just one of these 13-foot boards cut into kind of 4 pieces. And yeah, I think it's okay, isn't it? You got to chop and change as you go sometimes, and even though it might look great on paper, when you get it in front of you sometimes it doesn't look quite right. So I just keep looking at them and they just look so good. I'm so pleased. They're so substantial, you know, they're so chunky. I think what I do need to do is move it all this way a little bit, just so it's not encroaching on that shared path too much. And then I'll probably shift those beds over a little bit as well. And whether or not this will remain grass or wood chip, I'm not entirely sure. Probably leave it as grass, but yeah, one slight drawback to the liner, and I should have remembered this happens because it happened at the raised bed at home. But basically, when it starts to heat up, it just gets quite saggy. And I spent ages trying to think, you know, do I do it over the top, or do I just do it on the main bit of wood? And I find it much easier to just actually do it on the face of the wood. When you do it over the top, it gets really funky at the ends and the corners where they all meet. And I think it just looks a bit nicer on the inside, and you can kind of get away with it. It doesn't matter if you don't have a straight line, whereas when it's gone over to the other side, if it's not straight and it goes all wiggly, oh, look at that, terrible. then it's really noticeable. Whereas here, once this is full of soil and it's actually working as a raised bed, you just don't really notice the liner. It's a bit more discreet, you know? So all I've got to do now is a couple more corner brackets here and here, and then there's a piece over there that I just painted, a bit of an extra, and now that one is gonna join these two. Oh, it's so good. I can't wait until this is all done properly. I'm just now putting in the final screw. I've had to upgrade to the 50mm because of course the final board has a gigantic kick on it. So it's kind of twisted as it goes along. So this last bit does not want to go in. So far, touch wood, this is about the only thing that's gone wrong. And it's pretty minor. So for a JB video, that's good, isn't it? That is good. One thing I was worried about is maybe splitting a board or something like that, but thankfully, nothing. That is it. That is the final screw. I am just elated. I am fully just so happy with this. Thank you so much to everyone who watches these videos, because I wouldn't have done it without you, and I especially wouldn't have done it without the patrons. So to all of my patrons, thank you so much. I am so excited. I can't wait to get these properly. There's a bit of leveling left to do, and obviously then we've got to start filling them. That's where the real fun begins. But just thank you all so much. And an extra special thank you to all of my Chili Pepper tier patrons: Tony, Bill, Pam, Louise, Mel, Michael, Denise, Socks in the Garden, and Andrew. Hopefully I'll see you again very soon.